Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, I have the honor to introduce the pre-recorded message of Mr. İlham Əliyev, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, on behalf of the 120 members of the non-aligned movement and in his national capacity on perspectives on the 75th anniversary of the United Nations.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, the Republic of Azerbaijan was elected as the chair of the non-aligned movement in 2016 with a unanimous decision of all 120 countries. In October 2019, Azerbaijan assumed the chairmanship of the non-aligned movement during the 18th summit of the heads of state and government held in Baku. I have the honor to make this statement on behalf of member states of non-aligned movement. Member states of non-aligned movement highly appreciate the convening of this high-level meeting to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the signing of the UN Charter. The United Nations, its Charter, and the international law remain indispensable tools and central in the preservation and maintenance of international peace and security and the strengthening of international cooperation. While acknowledging its limitations, the UN remains the central multilateral forum for addressing global issues and challenges presently being confronted by all states. The NAM affirms that many new areas of concern and challenges have emerged, which requires a renewal of commitment by the international community to uphold and defend the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations and the principles of international law. Armed conflicts, aggressive expansionist policies, terrorism, separatism, transnational organized crime and extremism, coupled with human rights abuses, financial crisis and environmental degradation continue to affect millions of people around the world. The world today needs more than ever respect for international law and effective global institutions to ensure compliance with it. The role of the non-aligned movement in this regard is of utmost significance. Throughout its history, the movement has played a fundamental role in strengthening international peace and security and persistently called for strict adherence to the norms and principles of international law. The NAM attaches great importance to strengthening the role of the United Nations and stresses that efforts should be made to develop its full potential. In its 75th anniversary, we call for further strengthening and modernizing the United Nations, revitalizing the UN General Assembly and strengthening its authority as the most democratic, accountable, universal, and representative body of the organization, including in the area of international peace and security, and reforming the UN Security Council in order to transform it into a more democratic, effective, efficient, transparent, and representative body, and in line with contemporary geopolitical realities. The United Nations is the only global body with universal membership and is therefore well positioned to address global economic governance with the objective of reaching sustainable development. The role of the UN in global economic governance should thus be strengthened. For the United Nations to fulfill its role in global economic governance, the political will of all member states to commit to the UN processes and to multilateralism and its underlying values is critical. Ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated once again the significance of multilateralism. The movement reiterated its strong concern at the growing resort to unilateralism and unilaterally imposed measures that undermine the UN Charter and international law, and further reiterated its commitment to promoting, preserving, revitalizing reforming and strengthening multilateralism and the multilateral decision-making process through the UN by strictly adhering to its charter and international law, with the aim of creating a just and equitable world order and global democratic governance. This year is also remarkable for the NAM, since we celebrate the 65th anniversary of the adoption of Bandung Declaration, which embraces the founding principles of the movement. Since their inception, the Bandung Principles have been navigating the countries that had expressed their adherence to them through the turbulences of the Cold War period. Following the end of Cold War, the absence of two confronting blocs has in no way diminished the relevance and validity of the Bandung Principles. Quite contrary, in light of more complex challenges to peace and development, they have become more important than ever. Both anniversaries will enable us to take stock of the progress made in achievement of overreaching goals enshrined at the UN Charter and Bandung Declaration, and reflect upon how we, the Member States of the United Nations, with shared vision and combined strengths, should respond to the multifaceted and emerging challenges that we continue to face. Thank you, and now I will make the statement in my national capacity. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Azerbaijan became a member of the United Nations on March 2nd, 1992, after the restoration of its independence. Independence is the highest value and the reflection of hope and aspiration of the Azerbaijani people, who always wanted to live in a free and independent state. During almost 30 years of its independence, Azerbaijan has achieved tremendous progress in different spheres. Armenia brutally violated its obligations and used military force against Azerbaijan. Armenia occupied Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 other regions of Azerbaijan. 4 UN Security Council resolutions adopted in 1993 demand immediate, complete, and unconditional withdrawal of the Armenian armed forces from Azerbaijan's occupied territories. Unfortunately, Armenia continues to ignore these resolutions. Armenia conducted ethnic cleansing against the Azerbaijani population in the occupied territories. More than 1 million Azerbaijanis became refugees and internally displaced persons. Armenia committed Khojaly genocide. Armenia implements a policy of illegal settlement on the occupied territories. Armenia destroyed historical and religious monuments that belong to the Azerbaijani people in the occupied territories. The Prime Minister of Armenia deliberately undermines the format and substance of negotiation process under the mediation of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs. His statement that Karabakh is Armenia is a serious blow to negotiations. The aggressive rhetoric and provocations of Armenia show that Armenia is preparing for new aggression against Azerbaijan. We call on the UN and international community to urge Armenia to refrain from another military aggression. Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict must be resolved on the basis of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, according to the UN Security Council resolutions. Non-aligned movements online summit in response to COVID-19 was held on our initiative in May 2020. During the summit, I proposed on behalf of the non-alignment movement to convene a special session of the UN General Assembly in response to COVID-19 at the level of heads of state and government. More than 100 countries supported this initiative. I believe the general debate of the special session at the level of heads of state and government will serve as a framework for a comprehensive evaluation of the pandemic's impact on all affected spheres. Thanks to undertaken measures, the situation with COVID-19 has remained under control in Azerbaijan. The World Health Organization named Azerbaijan as exemplary country in the fight against the pandemic. Azerbaijan is prepared to work jointly with other countries to strengthen the UN further and boost its relevance and prestige in international relations. Thank you.
I thank the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan for the statement just made. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of